I hate soccer.
So start right there. Start what are you doing with the recruiting?
Yeah, scouting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So I don't know. Let's explain this story here. So when I've always been fascinated with sports, like just growing up, like played 3 of them growing up, and eventually you work down to 2, to baseball and soccer, and kind of like I told you before, we started this, setting up here for everything for the podcast was, Orchard Lake St. Mary's only had baseball, so like I didn't play a couple years of high school soccer. I stopped because I knew I played some travel baseball right before high school, and listen, my cousin was a very, very good baseball pitcher. He's from St. Clair Shores. He was scouted by the Yankees. He hurt his arm. He ended up playing Eastern Michigan. And he lives in California right now. But he was kind of like my idol growing up. I never saw him play baseball a whole lot. But just us hanging out with the family, and so we had baseball was my sport. I loved it, and soccer was always a second passion for me.
Right,
but it kind of became more of a passion after I was done playing soccer. In college, I kind of took off a year, and then the EPL became big on NBC Sports.
Yep.
And it was just when you step away from something, you really see the wow factor of it sometimes when you come back to see it again. And that was EPL for me. It was holy smokes, look at the passion of these fans, and look at they get up every morning, and then what the stuff NBC Sports puts on, it's fantastic.
Right.
They do a fantastic job of bringing in the American fan, making it simple, but showing the simple things. They don't overdo anything. Some Fox can overdo stuff, and ESPN for sure overdoes stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But that just kind of was the wow. And I went to Michigan State, so I'm a graduate of Michigan State University, like Craig is.
Go green.
Go white. And I was a journalism major. Journalism and multimedia information. So the second one is film, TV, radio.
Okay.
Separate. So they have a broadcast. Of course, after you leave, it got much better. They had the broadcast studio, and that you can do stuff with BTN Plus, which is a student run.
Yep.
Which they do. But man, it was I went for journalism. I worked for the state news. I worked for the student radio station Impact. And when I was in Impact Sports, that's where I really I got to get into the soccer stuff. I covered the MSU men's and women's soccer team, and it was fun because you got to watch both the male and the female team. But at that time, Michigan State had guys like Zach Carroll, Fatai, Jay Chapman, Zach Bennett, Tim Kreutz.
What was the Toronto kid?
That's Jay Chapman.
Who
plays for DCFC now.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been to a game yet, and I'm sure if I said hi to Jay, he'd remember me. I mean, I know when last year when I went to go scout the alumni match, or not the alumni, the alumni come up for the match and they watch. I think it wasn't against Indiana. I forgot who it was, but I saw those guys.
The Penn State
Ryan
game?
Keener. I think it was
lost.
I think yes, last year it might have. No, it wasn't this year. It was it was last fall.
Oh, last year, got it.
Last fall. But Ryan Keener, Kevin Cope was there. Kevin Cope's my age, and Kevin, Kevin was
forever.
Yeah, Kevin was a great soccer player. Going Michigan Wolves, played for Plymouth, Plymouth Salem, and he got drafted unfortunately by Philly, and it didn't work out. And then he tried the USL, but the USL was really not quite in existence yet. It was still kind of getting there. It was in the early stages of what we know it as today. But I saw those guys, and they remember me from the guy that worked for the student radio station that covered all the teams, men's and women's, MSU men's and women's soccer. And, I knew Damon from there. I knew Ben Pierman, and Ben's now at Charleston, and Kylie Standard, who's at Yale, Kale Wasserman, who's at SIUE, Tom Saxton. I got to know Tammy Farnham. Yeah, great people, and I understand why the women had to make the change, and Jeff Hauser's done a tremendous job. It was time.
Yeah.
It was time. But man, the coaches and the coaches now I know from doing college scouting, after I was done with the journalism stuff. So the funny thing is I'll kind of get into that. So
yeah.
with I got my 2 degrees, and I was kind of looking around, like I didn't really have a job after. I was kind of like, well, what can I do to kind of up my stuff, because I wanted to do sports journalism still. I wanted to do soccer stuff or some type of stuff. So I took a scouting and management course through a company called Sports Management Worldwide.
Okay.
They're based in Oregon. They do a lot of online classes. They have different things, but you work with people in the field. So like they have football stuff. You work with football agents and people that were in the game, and their courses, you get reading material. It's all online, kind of like if a college. It's like a sports college essentially, where you can learn more about the field and get these certificates and whatever. So I was like, looks legit. Like I did my research. So I took the class, and this guy named Matt Martin was the instructor, and like you had Tommy Smith for SiriusXM-FC. He was one of the teachers in it.
Really?
He would come in and speak. That was cool. And
that is sweet.
And you had some other guys that were brought in to speak, but Matt, it's funny. Matt was in the military. He's from the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, but he was a soccer fanatic. He was stationed in Italy for a bit. Grew up watching Italian soccer, and
Sure.
Matt was just kind of like, hey, I want to do this one day with scouting, because what he did in the military, I think it was the Air Force he was in. It aligned similar with scouting. I can't remember exactly what he did, but he's got But anyways, he started with Red Bull, doing some stuff, and then he moved to Sporting KC. And just as I took the course, him and his guys were shifting to the Portland Timbers, because Matt knew Caleb Porter from the scouting days of Akron.
Mm-hmm.
So when I took the course, I went through everything. You watch matches, had a curriculum. But then I wanted to get into this because this was cool. It was something I was always fascinated with. Watching up sports. Why do players succeed as pro athletes, and why do some fail? And is it always the athlete, or is it necessarily the coach or the organization that don't see? Who's at fault here, and why do guys that are these superstars at these young ages, in high school or in college, and why do they end up being mediocre players? And It's really fascinating when you start to follow someone's career when you've watched them from 17 all the way into the pro game, or even younger than that.
Right.
I mean, I've done youth scouting the last 5-6 years, and I did a little youth coaching. I remember watching Josh Adams at Michigan State at 14 years old, and it's been awesome to see how Josh has progressed at Michigan State. It's took him a little longer than probably it should have been, but he's developed into a good player. And then some of the guys you just kind of scout at the youth level. I mean, I know guys that played for Liverpool, Michigan, or Michigan Wolves, and now they're at Columbus Crew, or Michigan Jaguars, and they're at Crew Academy or FC Cincy Academy. And you see the players they become, and if they're signing second-team deals or first-team deals, or just going to college,
right.
to U of M or Michigan State. So that kind of really intrigued me, the progression of how a player develops, and that's what intrigued me about scouting. And I asked Matt after the class was done, hey, do you guys need help? They had no one in the Midwest. They had everyone on the coast, and they had some people. They had a guy in Florida, but they had no one in the Midwest. And me being a Midwest guy, we always get left out. You know what I mean? For everything.
Yeah.
For any big time European match or whatever, for a friendly, or luckily in '94 we had World Cup at the Silverdome.
Yep.
But we always get left out about stuff, and there are good players. Michigan always produce good players, and there are good small programs like Bowling Green. Oakland always had solid players. Detroit Mercy
DED,
always. Yeah, exactly. There are good programs.
Western.
Yeah, exactly. Western Michigan. So I interned first, and then I became part of the staff. And now becoming part of the staff, it was always a part-time thing. I always worked several different jobs while doing this. But it was, it was great. And I started there, and I've been doing it ever since. And we were with the Portland Timbers for 8 years or so. And then Matt left to do more of the youth game with some other guys, and they left with RSO to do youth scouting for a little bit. And then a couple of us went to our buddy Scott Resendez, who started the Soccer Syndicate. So that's what I'm with currently right now, the Soccer Syndicate. And we contract with MLS and USL clubs to do youth, college, and lower division pro scouting.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So the clubs So do you work for the clubs, or can like parents just contact you and work with you? Like, how does that work?
So on the youth side?
Yeah.
So when we do youth scouting, we work with the MLS academies to find players, to identify players in maybe territories that they're not as, have many eyes in.
Yeah.
And, we create lists. It's very similar to what we do with the college game. So with the youth game, like, you get a ton of movement, like, because kids are trialing everywhere, and then 1 year, one kid's somewhere, and then they leave and they go somewhere else, and it's crazy. It's people think the transfer portal is crazy in college. Youth soccer is crazy when it's high elite youth soccer. Someone's not happy at some academy and they go, or they take 4 visits somewhere, then like people are like, oh, he's going to go there, and then he's like, no, we're going to hold off for another year and whatnot, and it can get crazy. Then you got Barca Academy over there on the West Coast, and some kids use that as kind of like a pivot point to like, okay, my club in the Midwest or so, like, it's not bad, but like Barca Academy is legit. Like, I mean, if you look at all the guys that were in Barca Academy that play, I mean, Brooklyn Reigns right now with the U20s was a Chicago kid. He played at Barca Academy, in Casa Grande, over there on the West Coast, and he shifted into USL. Now he's with Houston Dynamo, and honestly, he's playing very well with the U20s. I've watched some of those games, but the youth landscape gets super, super crazy. But yeah, like when we contract with the clubs for youth scouting, everything we do is through the clubs. We are not a service that we don't help place players like
in college and stuff like that.
Correct. Like, I do that on my own. Like, I will help on my own to do that, and we've explored that option with youth clubs before.
Right.
It's just we've always figured out what's the right way to do it. Most youth clubs have come to us and be like, we've got on our U18 team, we've got 10 kids we got to place in college. Like, we don't want to do that because, and people have asked me, like, so like, I just placed a kid into Indiana University. I know Ty Diegley pretty well. I know Kevin Robeson, Tanner Thompson, Christian Lamelli, CeeLo, they call him, the goalkeeper coach. The person was funny. The parent reached out to me because they saw us on We Are Soccer,
right? And
they saw something we did, and they were curious. And I got in contact with the person. Craig sent me the guy's email, and I talked to the guy, and he's like, we're looking at these colleges, we're doing this, this, and this, and so like individually, I'll help out people. And I contacted Todd and Kevin. I was like, listen, what do you guys need? Because like when you watch college, you kind of pretty much know what they need, what they're looking for. You have an idea of the guys that are graduating, the guys that aren't cutting it. Todd was like, he needed a left center back. I needed a left center back. And listen, he probably could have tried to look at the portal, but Todd is, IU. They still run a very good culture program.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of Americans.
There are a lot of Americans, a lot of domestic.
I think they only had like 7 internationals last year.
Exactly, and I think Todd still likes to do the traditional recruiting, bringing the freshmen.
Young kids.
He'll do transfers, obviously. He's got Bendo this year, Palmer all, are doing really well for him. They got Cristiano Bruletti, who was at Michigan State, who started at South Carolina. He's a Michigan kid. He played at Wolves. He was at Atlanta United Academy. But yeah, I mean, I help people that way. People are like, well, why don't you run this as a business? And I'm like, I can't take on 20 people like some of these recruiting businesses do.
Right.
And I can't promise that I'm going to place you in a Division I program. Like, it's just not realistic with all the connections people have and then the services and then how the coaches feel and whatever and who's ever running the recruiting and who makes the decisions. Like, that's where we as the business of Soccer Syndicate and myself have been like, what's the right process to do? Like, we can't just take on 20 people and say we can do this. And because it just feels like you're stealing money from people, man. If you can't help them, you're just stealing money from people. And I think that's what...
And it's expensive.
Correct. And there's very few recruiting businesses for youth soccer, to get players into college that I think do a really good job with it. Andy Fleming's a really good one from what I've heard. Andy, Andy's got the connections. He's coached college. Last job was at Xavier.
What do you think of NCSA?
I mean, listen, right? They do a lot of their marketing and promotions. And listen, they do all levels, which I like. I like how they place kids in D3, NAIA, D2. Because the reality is sometimes you may need to start there before, you head into, if you want to get to D1. But you can do everything yourself that those guys do.
What about Don Williams, SRUSA?
Yeah,
Sports Recruits,
I've
right?
seen his stuff, and like, listen, again, kudos to them. They put players in, and which is awesome. But if people were educated, it's just like, I worked a job in finance like for a couple years,
right?
And my dad's been big into investing and whatever. Just like finance and just like soccer, if people were educated and knew what to do, a lot of these businesses wouldn't exist or make as much money. Because really, you can really do it yourself. You just got to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell people, when you're in the youth game, okay, so like, it doesn't have to be every month, but like every couple months, like make a new highlight video. You can add new clips in there. You can cut it up yourself. You can use iMovie. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
No.
Everyone wants these people to do like, it's just like people don't want to do the work.
Right.
Well, you got to go through your highlight video, make the right plays. And I get if you want like a third party to like say, hey, like, are these good? Like,
yeah.
And people do that. Like, people will send me stuff, especially with this one player up at the IU. Like, they still send me stuff to like, and they still give Todd some new highlights, even though he's committed already. Like,
right.
They still ask me, what do you think about this? What do you think about this play? And I'll be like,
I like that.
And again, yeah, exactly. And I'll give my advice. I'm not I'm happy to give my advice because I've made highlight videos. So I was also an assistant at Lawrence Tech University for a few years.
Okay.
I did opposition scouting and more of like video review with
Will,
the team.
or
with Will.
Okay, yeah.
With Will, yeah.
I used to coach with Will at Detroit Country Day.
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. But I made highlight videos for some of those Lawrence Tech players, like for USL 2 seasons.
Okay.
And I kind of would look on YouTube, like, what are people doing? And, I just kind of use my scouting sense. What's a good play? Like, what will coaches like to see? And because that's the problem. I tell people, if you want to play college, your highlight video is like your resume. It is like your work resume. It is the first thing that you send a coach where they will take a look at you to decide if they want to go watch your match or if they want to know more about you.
Do you think that, so years ago, I used to say that like social media is kind of important for kids, and every kid should have an Instagram and every kid should have a Twitter account. I think kids should have a YouTube account.
Have 100%.
A YouTube account.
Yes.
And me personally, why don't you make a highlight tape of every single game?
You could.
Every moment.
Yep.
Every moment of the game. You have huddle. You have VO. You have all that.
You do.
Make a highlight reel of every single game. And then what you could also do, I don't know if it's allowed or not, upload the full game as well.
Yeah.
So then you're like, this is a short video,
Yep.
and link it to
If you
the
want to
full
see more
match.
If you want to see more, here's my match. I tell people that too. Yeah, exactly. 100%. I tell people use all these services. YouTube's free. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing paying how to like, oh, it's a profile. Like, just put like, in your highlight video, make like your profile page of like your birth date. Listen, it's different from when you do college recruiting and we're talking about we're talking about like academy scouting. Like academy scouts, they want to know like your full birth date, they want to know more information because some may determine, depending on when you're born or whatever, like that may play a factor in whatever.
Right.
Colleges want your graduation year, right? Like that's what they go by.
Exactly.
But you can make that profile page, and in the first 5 to 8 seconds of your video, so people know this is the position I play. Here's my GPA, and you can do that.
Right.
And then YouTube's free though. It's the most people go on to YouTube to find anything. If I Google, like that's the first thing I usually do for college guys.
Yeah,
if
I don't use Google. I'll go into YouTube because I want to watch a video on how to do something.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I tell college kids this too. Like, put your highlight video up there because maybe someone's intrigued. They saw some clips and they want to see. Do we have more? Like, they may search YouTube.
This kid?
Yeah, they may do for youth or college. They may do YouTube before they go on to Y Scout to look at your matches.
Exactly.
You never know. So, yeah.
I would always say that like it also gives a college coach or a pro coach evidence of, wow, this is her or him when he was 12, juggling or training with Next Level or doing something like that. And then it's like, man, she's really been putting in the work from 12 up until 18.
Exactly.
So it's not just a facade, and it's not just from 3 weeks ago and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
So, okay. How Does the clubs tell you what games to go to, or do you just say, I'm going to Bowling Green?
Yeah. So I pick my schedule.
Okay.
But I make sure so what we do is we always, we put our scouting schedules together for college. There's 4 of us now, and we have some guys that help us. They'll go to 5 to 8 matches, get some little side money, to help us in areas where we may need coverage for certain colleges. What we do is we put our schedules together, and our guy Joe, he does a fantastic job. He's really good with Excel. He's an Excel whiz, so he inputs all our schedules, and we see, hey, we've only seen this team once, or we're not going to see this team, and sometimes we're like, okay, if we don't see them live, it's okay. We can watch them on ESPN Plus.
Right.
But we try to watch at least once every team in Division I men's soccer live. Now, we can't always get to D2, unfortunately, or D3 or NAIA. It's just how it is, unfortunately. And honestly, most clubs are probably going to pick, D1 kids if they're going to draft them or whatnot. But that's what USL 2 is good for, honestly, is you can see those NAIA D2 kids that, maybe show signs of flashes. And honestly, with the transfer portal and the extended years some of these guys are getting, you're seeing difference makers. Some of the best guys I've seen so far this year have been in NAIA transfers, honestly. It's their last year, because NAIA granted them, you can have 1 more year of eligibility on NCAA.
Right.
Some of them have been the best players I've seen so far. They've been the biggest difference makers. It's kind of funny, everyone poo-poos certain levels, but you don't know until you put a kid into there how well they're going to do.
NAIA, especially on the boys' side, has always been legit.
Yeah.
And it's never talked about. Yeah. I don't know of any Western New York kids that have gone NAIA. Whereas here, I guess it's not NAIA, but think about Justin Miram. I always talk about Justin Miram.
Yeah,
he goes to Yavapai, and then he goes to Michigan, goes to the Final Four, and then look at his career.
Yeah.
It's been excellent. He's coached for Jags now.
Yes, he does some stuff with Jags, I believe, and some other stuff. People don't understand, and this is what drives me crazy with the youth soccer stuff is, there's this perfect path everyone wants to take. I'm gonna do with my local club, and then I'm gonna move into an MLS academy, and I'm gonna get to the second team, and then to the first team. That doesn't happen for every kid.
Right.
Even in Europe, there are different paths to take. Some guys have to go to the country next to them to play, or a lower division side and within the country to get some minutes and develop. And it's the same for the United States. Everyone poo-poos college soccer at all levels. And I'm if you want to have a chance to be a pro player, you have to play competitive soccer after high school. You can't just
unless you're a phenom, and then they'll find you right from. But
exactly.
You're not going pro right out of high school unless you're super special.
Correct. Most guys aren't, and even guys, and honestly, I think a lot of MLS academies, in my opinion, there are some that I don't like the method where let's sign 10 of these guys and let's see if 3 hit. I hate that because listen, these dudes, these directors, they get bonuses for signing homegrown contracts and what, from the club, you get all that stuff, and there's incentives for them to sign guys without giving 2 craps about if the player makes it or not. And listen, on the flip side, it's a double-edged sword. The risks when you sign the stuff. But again, I don't think parents are very well educated on some of that stuff. And, they buy into what people are telling them from the top. And you got to be able to see both sides and make your own informed decision. I know people that have gone in MLS academies to use them for a good educate to get into a college.
Right.
To get into a U of M or Michigan State or UVA or Wake Forest
right.
or whatnot, to get a good education and play some good soccer. You know what I mean? But there are people, and there are humble people that work for MLS academies as academy directors and whatnot that are not going to pressure people into signing stuff. And then there's guys that, it's a business to them.
Right.
And that's where it kills me. Is they look at it as a business and not that the player and the parents are human beings, and that this can derail their career if they decide to do the wrong thing. I've seen kids chase the dream.
Yeah.
And, you can go back to school, sure, but you can't play college soccer anymore. You know what I mean? You don't have time to sit and develop in the college program. You can go back to school and get an education, but you're chasing a dream. And honestly, the more people that start to chase that dream, and if you work with an agent or you call people up, and the more your name goes around and people hear things, the more people call other people and be like, yeah, this guy's not good enough, or he's just trying. You know what I mean? Like, the soccer world's small. You know what I mean? You got to think about it. Like, people talk. People talk at the youth level, the pro game, the college game. It's easy for things to go around and people to figure out things, especially when you're trying to force the situation and not just let it happen naturally, or just maybe make the other decision that's better. And I feel bad for those kids because, like, the parents not giving them guidance, or they're being filled in their head with stuff from agents or whatever. Like, college is a great place to develop. It's the best. To me, it's the best U23 league we have in this country. It is. Yeah. It's the best. Like, and the internationals. I know you've talked about it before, and I know people poo-poo it, but like, the internationals have raised the college game level. Like, there's a standard, and people are upset. Well, they take my son's spot and my daughter's spot, and I'm like, be better then.
Yeah.
Be better as a player and work hard.
It's going to happen in the workforce.
Exactly. It does. It's going to happen in life. It's going to happen in life. And for me, when I scout, Rasheed Wallace used to say the ball don't lie.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, when you scout, the game don't lie. The game tells you everything you need to know when you watch it live. Everyone's like, well, if my son and daughter were in this system, they'd be better. I'm like, that's not how it works at the pro level or the higher levels. You have to adapt to how your team's going to play and how the game is. And the game doesn't lie that day when you're watching if you're good or not. Now, listen, there are some kids that, like, they may have one bad game, and then, I'll scout them in other times, and, they'll be better than what they showed the first time I saw them. But, video fools people. That's why I don't watch a whole lot of video.
Exactly, because anybody can make a highlight reel.
Exactly. Not just that, but, like, even stuff on, that's streamed through ESPN Plus. You can't see. Sometimes it's when you can't see what the defenders are doing on the other side.
The camera work is so bad.
Yeah, but that's just how it is, though.
Zoomed in, and you can't see anything off the ball.
Exactly. You can't tell how fast someone is sometimes. Like, when you watch live and how quickly their first step is, or how they are over a long distance, or how good feet they have to get out of a situation.
Right.
Or a goalkeeper, how, they get it through traffic and, like, they come out with the ball somehow, or how hard the shot was hit and they get that upper 90 save. Like, you learn a lot, or how fast they push off their back leg. Like, when you see it in real time, that gives you the best indication. And a lot of scouts like to use video, and I don't mind using video, but it's only to, like,
it's a hook.
It's
like, oh, I want to go see this. I need to go see more, and I need to see
exactly. It's to confirm things. It's same with stats and analytics. It's to confirm things.
Right.
But, like, you learn about character when you watch someone live.
Right.
You learn in real time how fast they are, how technical they are, how smart they are, how they communicate. Because sometimes you can't see all that on video.
I did a recruiting guide, and I sent a survey out to a ton of, like, college coaches and everything. Mm-hmm. And it came down to get in front of them in person in your club environment.
Yes.
Like, because all of them had horror stories when they just relied on highlight tapes or ID camps.
Correct.
And people, so this is fascinating. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even know, like, MLS Academies had scouts out there. I just thought, so in Western New York, we've had a couple kids with trials with FC Cincinnati and Sporting KC. We had one kid that's been at Sporting KC up until Peter Vermees got fired, and now he's
changed a bit.
It changes when guys get fired. And but Vermees loved him, and Jason Davis, I talked to him and loved him and stuff. But and we've had a kid that, like, went to Columbus Crew, but they come back because it's like they had to live with a host family and stuff like that, and that's kind of tough for families to navigate. But how do you approach a kid or a family and say, hey, I'm representing Chicago Fire or something like that? Like, how does that all go down?
Sure. Like, when people contract us, so, like, what we usually do with the contractual part is it's not our job to recruit the player. Like, it's our job to identify them. And people will ask, like, listen, when I do youth scouting, I sit on the parents' side. I sit right at the halfway line. Yeah. So, people can see my notebook and my backpack. And, it's funny when I talk to parents, they're like, I've always seen you, and I never want to say anything. And I'm just like, you can always come up and chat. Like, I'm not like, I'm not a monster or anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always like to have a conversation,
Uh-huh.
But yeah, when at the Soccer Syndicate, when we've contracted with MLS Academies, they contract us to identify players. We give them the information, the reports, and then it's their job, whether it's the head scout for the academy or whoever, to go out and contact the club, because you have to contact the club. You can't just contact the family. You have to contact the club to say, hey, we're going to talk to this person. And then, they do more of the work if they want to watch them again, and then they get involved with the recruiting process. Like, we handle none of that when we contract with people. And that's honestly the easiest way to do it when you're a third party working with a club.
Right.
Because, like, we don't work for you full time. Like, it's just, like, it's a contract. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not our job to do that. But, like, what we do is we identify the top guys for you in the certain positions you may need, or just anyone in general. And it's your job then to do the recruiting aspect of it, to get the player in, to watch them, and to do all that stuff. So that's what we do. But, like, my buddies, that I know that are out there, that's their job, is like, listen, it's like starting a conversation. I've seen it. I've talked to my buddies about it, that scout for the Midwest, FC Cincy, Columbus, other academies out there, RSL.
Mm-hmm.
It's engaging the conversation and talking with the parent. But again, you have to go through the club. Like, that's a requirement. You have to notify the club. You can't just, like, talk to the parent and do that. There are rules that you have to obey.
Right.
Then you have to worry about territories. Like, you have to worry about other territories the clubs have. Like, you can't recruit kids out of that territory unless you notify the MLS club and everything. But it's a simple conversation with parents, and, some of it may get super quick, super fast sometimes, and some may take their time. It just depends on what their academy director or technical director of the club, how, aggressive they want to be. Each club is different in how, and Scout out there is different with how aggressive they want to be with getting players. Like, some are very gung-ho about it, and when they're being held up by a club, they're like, well, we notified you, I told you this, I gave you a grace period, now I'm going to the parent and the player, and, we're going to handle this because you're dragging your feet. It's just like, it's a wild, wild west, I call it. For youth, it is the wild, wild west.
It's nuts.
It is nuts, yes.
What's the youngest kid that you've placed in an MLS academy? Doesn't have to be you specific. It could be just the company.
Just that I know. We've mostly worked with, like, it's 15 or 16. I've done U13, U12 scouting before. Like, just so I know who these clubs
kind of identifying these kids.
Yes, I I know the guys, like, especially like you're in a pre-MLS next at the U12 level. The last, like, just to be like, okay, this kid I know they're going to go after because, like, he has these traits. Like, you start trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the game, is, like, with youth scouting. You're trying to figure things out, and some guys jump on guys super quickly. And it's like, they haven't matured, dude. Like, you need to let them mature as players, like physically and emotionally, and
let them go through puberty a little bit.
They're talking about this is the next biggest thing, and I'm just like, they're 13 years old. Like, all these guys in the mind that like they have age cutoffs of, like, when a player can, like, will be a pro or whatever. Like, if you're not technical enough by this age, it's such hogwash. Like, everyone develops at different stages of their career. It's just some get it right away, some takes time, and some understand they have to work at it because they were always the best athlete or best technical player.
Uh-huh.
And then shit hits the fan, and when they get to college or they get to a MLS Next Pro team, the second team, or an MLS Academy, that they're not the best player anymore. And the ones that figure it out get it. Again, there's the path thing. You may not figure it out when you're there at the MLS Academy, but when you get in the college system and you start to understand it, because, you're away from that MLS environment.
Right.
You got to think about these kids. Like, some of these kids are walking into crazy facilities. Like, the Union just built a nice facility. RSL has a tremendous facility. Like, you're in and around pros. Like, your ego's high as an academy player. And sometimes going to college can be very humbling, and how you have to work hard. You have to work and whatnot.
They don't care where you came from.
Exactly.
Really.
They don't. They don't. And college is different. You get 3 months to go win a national championship, 3.5, 4 months.
Yeah.
Like, MLS Next Academy, Next Pro, it's not very realistic soccer to me. Like, you don't get 20 yards to turn in the midfield. Someone's on your back. Like, and you can poo-poo college to be like, well, they play really direct and it's not always pretty. And I'm like, there are pro games that aren't very pretty sometimes. Go
watch second division in Europe, any country. Go watch third division
matches. First division matches can be ugly sometimes, depending on the day.
Yeah. This could ruffle some feathers.
That's fine.
Yeah, because it needs to be like addressed.
Sure.
Do you go when you're working for the MLS academies?
Yeah.
Do you go to ECNL boys?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I've done that, and I do my due diligence and do my research.
Good.
I do. I don't just do MLS Next. ECNL in the Midwest is not super strong, but on the coast, Texas, Florida, and the West Coast in Arizona, like, it's pretty strong. Like, there's some depth out there.
Right.
Like Crossfire is a very good one in Seattle.
Right.
They do battles with not letting the Seattle Sounders take any of their players. Like, they don't like the Sounders, and ever since that USS the Development Academy split.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of tension with like, well, we don't want to do this because MLS Next is running it. It's not U.S. Soccer. There are ECNL teams that can beat pretty good MLS Next teams. Like, if people say no, like they haven't watched all of them.
Right.
Like San Diego Surf is a great one. Like, San Diego Surf is ECNL. Like, I mean, that's a great program. Obviously now they're probably more affiliated with San Diego MLS because, they're in that territory. But
right.
But yeah, all levels. I mean, I've watched Michigan Nationals. Michigan Nationals have had a lot of players go to MLS academies.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they've left too early, that's the question. I mean, some have wanted them a little longer than to leave after, 13 and 14.
Right.
They'd rather leave them at like 15 or 16. But, of course, that's the name of the game. I mean, guys want to get into these MLS academies as early as they can. And sometimes, like I said, it's not always the right move.
Right.
But yeah, I do. I watch all levels. Listen, the one levels I know where the standard is, and then when it drops, like, that's what I said. You do your due diligence to know. And listen, like, I'm not watching E64. Like, I mean, listen, maybe like, maybe at the 13 level, maybe there's someone that hasn't advanced yet.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to figure out who the top teams, and maybe that time you're watching them at like the national tournaments, like the Midwest regionals or something, to get a better idea of like, what kid can move on to an ECNL program or into an MLS Next Academy. I mean, our MLS Academy. It's not impossible for that to happen.
Uh-huh.
But most of the time in a regular normal season game, you're going to ECNL or MLS Next. A lot of the other leagues I really don't touch. USL Academy still trying to figure things out, but a lot of those teams play in ECNL, like the Riverhounds do.
Yeah.
Louisville City does. I mean, obviously there's a few, like Phoenix Rising, San Antonio play in MLS Next. But yeah, so you have to do your research to know,
Do you guys, or does the NWSL have or use companies like you guys as well?
We've thought about girls soccer, getting into it. Actually, one of my buddies that works with us at the Soccer Syndicate actually does work for an NWSL club. He is a scout. He does college and youth scouting for him. I actually went to a game last month when UCLA came to Michigan State. That was actually fun because you start to compare how the boys play versus the girls, and the girls are just...
It's a different game.
But like, they're 100% in it. Like, the boys like want to play this nonchalant BS stuff, like, you know what I mean? And the girls are just like 100% all the time, like 100% of the tackles.
Yeah.
High speed. Like no lie, like the Michigan State midfielders could teach some of the Michigan State, like the women's players can teach some of the men's guys how to be a good midfielder, to be honest with you. No lie. Like Kaylee McPherson in that midfield for Jeff Hosler for the women's team can teach Colin Arce a thing or two about how to turn under pressure and play, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
he can. Like, listen, Colin's not a bad player. Like, I've watched him for years. I mean, Steve coaches at Vardar. He played at Michigan State. But listen, like,
I coached Colin when he was like 8.
Yeah.
7.
And listen, like, he's a good player, and the other midfielders are Miles Merritt's a good player. They were a really good pick. He was a good pickup in the transfer portal for Damon at Michigan State. But like, don't discount the women's game. Like, if you haven't watched it, like they do some good stuff now, and they listen more.
Dude. You know how many comments? I'll have a ECNL topic and I'll put it up on Instagram, and then I have all these clowns be like, MLS Next is so much better than the ECNL. I'm like, dude, we're talking about girls soccer. Girls play soccer too, guys.
I know. It's both. People forget there's a boys and girls side there.
It's so annoying.
I know.
But
I know.
Man, because okay. Do you think MLS will get rid of the draft like NWSL will or did?
So there have been talks about that. I think with the way things are shifting with this 2-semester season, possibly. I mean, U.S. Soccer has made the committee. There's 13 people on that committee. There's presidents. There's
go in the what do you mean the committee?
Yeah, so if you go on
take over like college soccer?
Yeah, or to like decide how would it be sponsored. Like if you go on the U.S. Soccer website, you read articles about it. There's a 13-person committee. There's like there's a person that's there for Coca-Cola who's a sponsor, obviously U.S. Soccer. There's I think the Davidson president's on there. Is it the Penn State AD's on there or president? I think, and then JD Bastion is the head guy of it. He runs the stuff, but you can find the committee. They are the ones looking to determine because, I think college soccer wants to make the move. They want to go to 2 seasons, which is good. But how do you incorporate everyone and not leave everyone behind? And that's the thing you have to. And listen, USL is on that committee. Jeremy Allenball is on that committee, and there's someone else. I'm not sure who on MLS is on that committee, but they're a part of it too. Because obviously you can't just have one pro league. You have to have the other pro league in there to decide. Hey, but. I mean, you could see something interesting. I've talked with people, people in USL too, about this that run teams around here, and just in general conversations with other people within the game and the pro and in the college game, whatever. You could see. I mean, if it goes 2 semesters, the national championships in June, what happens to all the amateur clubs?
Right.
You know what I mean? Your season starts in May. I mean, are you gonna? I mean, you can get the D2, D3 NAIA players for sure, but, are you going to have big of a draw? Are the fans going to still come? This shift with the 2 semesters makes things interesting. And then, MLS Next Pro. Some people I've talked to and people within the people I work with at the Soccer Syndicate, we say, hey, if college goes 2 semesters, what's to stop, since MLS is on the committee, just to say, we're wasting money with these second teams because they don't draw fans. Do some do what they're supposed to? Sure. But it's, again, I think you can throw high-level college soccer teams in MLS Next Pro, and they would do fine.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, they wouldn't finish bottom of the table. Some would finish mid. Some would be better than the best teams in MLS, for sure. But, But I just don't think a lot of these owners want to run second teams or just have the option of yes, I want to run it, no, I don't. And I think most of them would want that, $1 million plus, budget off their books and to use that money into the academy or use it towards the first team or building better facilities or doing something, And I just foresee possibly, if college does the 2-semester stuff, MLS Next Pro going away because, they're in competition with USL League One for Division 3.
Exactly. And
the pro-rel thing has made it interesting for USL. But it's just an intriguing situation. And this is all theoretical and speculation. You think it's going to go that way. You're trying to read the brains and you're trying to read stuff of what the people are saying at the top and how things can work. But there's a possibility that it could make that direction. And then maybe MLS Academies, you're a Columbus Crew guy. Sure, have them go play, some of your top guys, go play for Brian Mason off at Ohio State.
Yep.
Go play at Xavier. Oh, Cincinnati can use Xavier, but, Marshall, West Virginia or whatever, because they're close to Ohio, close to where Columbus is. Give them to certain coaches that are going to develop your players. And then they go into that 2 semesters where now they're only playing 1 game a week and they have time for more development and not get injured. You know what I mean? There's a possibility that could happen and it'd be more regionalized. It would cut down stuff. You know what I mean? Especially if they shift into that quote unquote super league that they want to make for college soccer, Right. But it's interesting how you can move things. But I think the college system, they want to stay relevant. And I think they do have a place within the U.S. soccer pyramid. Just where do they fit in exactly?
The 13 person committee, are they doing this with the women too, or are they gonna make the same mistake they did with the DA, where we don't need to touch our women. Our women are fine. They're good. They're good. How's that worked out?
Yeah,
that pissed me off.
Yeah. The women, from my understanding, I don't think as many people want it on the women's side. And this is early on. Like, it's not like, you know what I'm saying? I know you're frustrated because you'd like to see the men change with the women, right? Like, you want to see.
I want them both to be
equal.
I'm so sick of being like, our women are the best in the world. We don't need to do anything to get better.
Sure. Yeah. It's complacency, right?
Yeah.
It is.
And that's what they did in 2007 when they started the DA. They're like, the girls are fine. We don't need to touch their system. And that opened up the ECNL, and now that's why we have two factions, and our youth game is so segmented and segregated, really.
It is on both sides, the boys and girls.
It's terrible.
It is.
My goal and my hope, and going back to the pro level, do you ever see, I'm a big NFL guy, and the start of the NFL was because Lamar Hunt couldn't get an NFL team. Yeah. So he is like, fine, I'm going to start my own league.
Exactly.
And that's exactly how youth soccer is.
It is. It is.
But then AFL eventually made such a good product, and then,
they merged, right?
And then they came and merged.
Yeah.
Do you see MLS and USL ever doing that?
At some point, listen, MLS has all the money. Now, it makes it interesting because USL has this new private equity investor, Bell Tower Partners coming in, and they're a minority.
What is it, like 125 million or more than that?
I don't know how much they're going to get. I haven't seen like what they listed at how much they're going to contribute, but they're contributing to the league, not clubs, like the league, like the
That's brilliant.
Which is interesting. So like this is their big first like money player the USL has, and this guy that runs Bell Tower Partners has been in private equity for 30 plus years. He's a Harvard grad. He's worked for another huge private equity firm before he started this one.
Right.
And it doesn't have as much assets under management, AUM, as the other ones he manage, but you can build that. And private equity only invests in things that they know they're going to get a return on investment. So whatever USL pitched this guy, or if he saw, hey, like, with this pro rel that you guys want to do, and these franchises not costing, to buy in, not $500 million or $500 million, it's $500 million for minimum for MLS franchise.
Right.
Guys that can't play in that money pool that have money, they want a piece of a pro franchise. You know what I'm saying? So USL is the one where you can buy into League One for $5 million. USL Championships 10 to 15, and then I don't know what the buy-in will be for the first division they want to run, because they're going to start that first division USL. But it makes it interesting, and these small communities, listen, we don't have an MLS team in Detroit, but at least we have pro soccer.
Detroit City FC is legit.
Yeah.
And they're building that stadium and everything.
Yeah, which is great. Listen, you're in Buffalo. You talked to that Buffalo, the academy director, right? Like, I'm excited. Like, Buffalo, New York, man, like, that's awesome that you guys are going to have something that you can go watch games. I hope
it works.
Yeah.
I went to one of the they have like town hall meetings at different bars and breweries and stuff like that. And I want it to happen. I just don't know if it'll work.
Yeah.
I really don't know if Buffalo can support it.
Sure. That's the question, because they have to get the stadium set. And I think they've shifted around with that a little bit. Like, there was once
there's been some issues.
Yeah. But in the long story short, can MLS and USL merge? One person's going to buy out someone else. That's how it's going to be. It's kind of like what Lamar Hunt did. But he started something and was different. But like, it's interesting. Does MLS try to counter with ProRel at some point? They have spent so much money. We interviewed Peter Vermees about this. At
Expo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do agree. Like, you spent a lot of money, millions and billions of dollars into a MLS franchise to say, hey, now you're going to be relegated and make less. That's hard for people to swallow that did that. But with USL, it's still young enough where, like, not everyone's dumped loads and loads and loads of money.
Right, and they know what they're getting into
exactly.
when they buy in.
Exactly. I hope at some point we become one. But listen, like there are countries like Australia has 2 separate leagues.
Yeah.
They got the A League and then they have the NPL, the Victorian League and everything. And they're starting Division 2, and it works there. It works there. Like things can coincide. I mean, this country's big enough for that to coincide, USL and MLS.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't merge, it is what it is. It offers different pathways. My hope is there's more transactions between the 2 leagues. That would be awesome. But, MLS doesn't want to help USL grow.
Do you think they are investing in the league to kind of give that parachute that for the teams that get relegated? Because in Europe, or at least the EPL, if you get relegated, the league gives you like a few $1 million or like $10 million to stay and make sure that you don't go out of business.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you think that's part of it? Maybe
of the
something?
Private equity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think, when you're in private equity and you have people with a lot of money, you can bring people in to invest in certain things, whether it's clubs. I like to see the Jägermeister Cup have a good prize winning. I like to see if you win USL playoffs that you're the winner, you have some money. You're in a conference winner, you get some money. I mean, that's money, even if it's like $25,000 and you win your conference, you're the best team in your conference. I mean, that money can go a long way for a lot of USL clubs to pay off some stuff, Jägermeister Cup, you put like $100,000 purse on that, there's going to be more teams that are going to try.
Right.
You could tell there were teams that weren't trying to win that. And listen, that they want to win USL Cup and USL playoffs. That's fine. It's like some teams put it in for FA Cup and some are like, whatever. You know what I mean? And same with US Open Cup. Some are, and I know it sucks. Like not every MLS team partakes in MLS Cup, and they made that thing where like, you compete in Leagues Cup. You used to compete in one competition, whether it's Leagues Cup, US Open Cup, or I forgot the third one. I'm missing. CONCACAF Champions League.
Yep.
You can compete. You don't have to compete at all 3, but you at least have to do 1. You can do 2, and like that's nice. They gave them options to do that, but I would like everyone honestly to have to compete in US Open Cup because it makes the event so much better.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like you're always going to have that. But like if they have bigger purses at the USL level, that incentivizes I think people to want to win it and want to do well, and and that private equity investment along with maybe bringing other people in, makes it interesting to see how USL can grow. And I mean, listen, from through the rumor mill, there are a lot of people that when they said pro rel for USL, there's a lot of USL too, and there's cities that intrigued. They're like, I want in on this because I just don't have to sit at a League One level or a championship level. I can be Division 1. I can grow this thing. Now the question is, when the expansion team come in, it makes sense to probably them to join USL League One. Why would you want to spend 10 to 15 million in championship and then get relegated when you can come in at 5 million?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then it'll be interesting too, if it ever gets this way, true promotion relegation, where you get the amateur leagues involved, where it's, maybe that's where USL 2 still exists in some aspect, but you'd bring in MWPL, you bring in League for Clubs, you bring in all that stuff, and somehow, whether it's a playoff format or something to qualify, to get into League One, like that would be awesome to see. Because now when you're an amateur team and now you want to invest and you don't want to spend, you don't have the net worth to invest or the net worth to do a League One team at $5 million plus. I think you need like a $10 million net worth or more to be an owner, like a majority owner.
Right.
Like now that gives you hope. Like, you can be like Europe. You can be a club somewhere in an amateur league where you've been dominating, where you can move up and have a shot and attract people. And it makes the game interesting now for communities in America,
Tom Byer, he's the guy that he's from
Tom's
Jersey.
great.
Yeah. And he would say that if the U.S. had true pro rel, we would have 1,000 pro clubs overnight.
I think so, yeah.
Because every club, Jags would I mean, they have a pro team
but
now.
the youth would invest in it for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, so funny is like by you, Bethesda just brought in a USL 2 team. You know what I mean? You're seeing it more. I mean, Jags have an NWPL team here, and Nationals have Macomb Union, which are USL 2. You're seeing Midwest United have a USL 2 team. You're starting to see more.
How many USL 2 teams are here right now?
So you have Oakland County.
Yeah.
You have Flint City Bucks. You have AFC Ann Arbor. You have Macomb Union. You have Kalamazoo.
Lansing.
And then, you have Lansing, and then you have Midwest United. And then South Bend is the 8th team that joins, which I don't know why they don't do Toledo. But yeah.
Going back to your scouting.
Yeah.
When you're at a college game, are you working with USL clubs or in behalf of USL clubs and MLS clubs?
Yeah,
and
do both.
Yep, and you're just
do both. You just put it on the database.
Identify kids.
Yeah, you put it on the database. We sort it depending on what we do. We do a really good job with the Soccer Syndicate. Is early on we don't have that the line, the standard in each position, but we just did our first rack and stack like last week, and that takes like 4 hours because like you're moving guys off. You've seen guys, and you're like, where you're like, he's international, he's older international. We need to move him off because MLS, for the MLS draft per se, no one's going to draft a dude that's like 26. You know what I'm saying? Like he's better off in USL.
Right.
Then you're sorting through like, are they homegrown players for the, because you can still be a homegrown player if you're in college. Like,
right.
You're still tagged until the team drops you. Yeah. But yeah, so you're working with all of them. And then what happens is you find the standard for each position. And then you're like, these are MLS guys we think, championship, League One. And then, we're pretty much 20 players deep at each position on our big board.
Right.
We have some go deeper at certain positions, but if you're off the board, you're probably like a League One level, depending on how deep the position is, to like not good enough.
Right.
But we have like hundreds, if not thousands, of players in our college database that we just enter in. I mean, I turned in my last reports. I think I turned in like 30 some. Some of us, depending on how many games they watch, my buddies that are in the Northeast can watch a lot more because the colleges are closer, But, I mean, I've turned in like 50, 60, 70 reports for one period before, within like a 1 month span or whatever,
Have you thought about doing the U.S. youth or the U.S. scouting diploma or whatever, or the oh my gosh.
The course they have.
The course and then becoming a U.S. youth scout? Or not really?
So there are restrictions for that. Like you have to have certain licenses and whatever.
You have to have like an A license.
Which is stupid because
so dumb.
It's so stupid. If they still offered it, I think people could probably maybe help me get into the course somehow. Like
right.
I know enough people where like they've done like one of my buddies was a part of the pilot program for that. Like they brought him in and like they were kind of giving feedback and everything. I've looked on the website to see if they offer it because my buddies mentioned you should do that. Like you should take it. It's very educational, informational, and
somebody just said it was like $3,500.
It's a lot of money.
It's like what are we?
It's a lot of money, and you may be invite only or whatever. I would do it. Like I would do it just to see like how it is. I'm sure it's very U.S. Soccer-esque where they tell you you have to do this or whatever. I hope it's not like that because that's what it's like when people tell you like scouting something where like for me. I make it as natural as it can be. I have this big board of, our big board of 11 positions with 20 players deep. I don't bring that out and I'm like, okay, who's on this board that I have to watch? When I go to every game, I watch all 22 players plus the subs, whether that's youth or college or low division pro. Okay? I don't start looking for certain guys on our board. I just again, the game don't lie.
Let the game talk to you.
Yeah, the game don't lie, right? They're going to tell me who's the player that day and who's good. And then I'll go back again and I'll be like, does this kid at Detroit Mercy, he played well against Green Bay. Is he going to do well when he goes to play Michigan later this month? You know what I mean? Like, is he gonna live up to what I think he can be? And I just let it naturally happen. Like when you start trying to look for things and figure things out, and really focusing on players, I think you lose track of the other guys that, are in the game that are doing well because you're so focused on things.
What stands out to you when you're scouting and you're at a game where you might not know very many players or it's a smaller school? What really jumps out at you?
Yeah. Work rate. If you defend, you're a backline player or you're a defensive mid and you defend, that really sticks out. You're an attacker. You got pace, obviously, but you got like other tricks in your bag, like moves you can do besides push the ball past someone or scissor once and drop your shoulder, and you know what I mean? Like you got something else in your arsenal. Because kids don't understand, like when they're attackers, like a lot of college wingers are eventually moved to outside backs or wing backs, especially if they
don't say that.
I know, right?
I got in trouble for saying that.
Of course.
Jesus.
But they are. I mean, listen, I watched Griffin Dorsey for years at IU, and you know, for as dominant he was as a 1v1 attacker in the Big Ten, I mean, I was just like, kind of a one-trick pony, but he's really changed direction very well. And, you know, I'm not sure if he can serve. He served a decent cross in, you know, but he was a good two-footed player. And listen, he got drafted by Toronto. It didn't go very well. He ends up at Houston. And look what he's done in Houston. He's been the starting right back there. Now, I haven't watched lately, but, like, you know, the past years he's done well. You know what I mean? Like, they're just guys. Like DeJuan Jones. DeJuan Jones was a good winger in college.
Yeah.
But when you start to talk and see if kids translate as wingers to wingers at the next level, especially the MLS level, it's the deciding factors. Do you score goals in the final third? Do you have assists? Like, it's not enough just to beat your player.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, what's your final ball like?
Yeah.
You know,
like creating quality chances.
Exactly. That's what it is. Because, like, if you can't create quality chances, you're going to go up against an athlete that's just, if not as athletic as you are at the next level.
Uh-huh.
I think people, when they look at the game and, you know, they want to be know-it-alls, you know, whether it's, you know, the dudes that like to do the stuff on, you know, social media with the U.S. national team youth guys or whoever, you know, you just run into people at some point that are just, and you have to watch everyone, and you have to have an idea. You have to watch all levels. You know, people write players off so quickly. You know, like, oh, he can't do it. Like, you don't know because you don't know the kid's character if you haven't given him a chance. You know, like, people get pigeonholed into things. Like, you know, even stuff on We Are Soccer, when we talk about guys like, you know, Craig and Nate sometimes think I'm crazy when I'm like, you know, you can shift this guy and play him in different, like the U.S. men's national team. You could probably play Tanner Tessman as a center back. Honestly, when I watched him when he was with North Texas, when they were in League One and Lansing had a team for that 1 year, I was like, he's not bad. He's a really good technical player. Like, and you know, but maybe at some point his destiny is center back. That's what Aaron Long for the longest time was a 6 in college, and he tried to transition to the 6. It just wasn't going to happen at the pro game. He had to move back into the back line. You know, if you want to survive at the next level, you got to be open-minded to saying, hey, I may have to change positions.
Okay. Yeah.
Just how it is. And that's every level. That's from youth to college and college to pro.
One of my most versatile players, she's the leading goal scorer for Nebraska right now. And her freshman year, she played almost everywhere in the midfield because she did that at the youth level. She played up top. She never got to really play the position she really wanted because she could play other positions. Exactly. It sucks when you're a youth player.
It does.
But then when you are at the next level, you're going to be on the field more times than not.
You grow so much more by being able to play multiple positions.
Exactly.
And people like, well, I don't want to do that. It's 11v11. It's 11v11 now. It's not 9v9. We're like in 7v7 where I was asked to do this like all the time. And you know, we didn't know what I really was. And like, you know, I always have ideas in my head that are floating around when I see guys like 6s. Like Andrew Privett's a great example for Penn State. Andrew Privet was a 6 in college. Now he's a starting center back for Charlotte.
Yep.
You know, like that. It was destined for him to move back. He was a big player. He was technical. You know, Jack Elliott was a 6 at West Virginia University, and then he moved into the back line at Philadelphia Union, and he's playing in the back line now at Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you look at the careers, and not everyone does this or has the knowledge to, like, you know, like, because I've seen these guys for so long or, you know, wants to do the work, but some of these guys shift into different positions, and like Brandon Bio at Rebs, he was a winger at Western Michigan. I always told Chad he should go play right back because that's probably his future position, or you know, maybe as a third center back. And you know, obviously Chad needed him up top because he needed to win, right? So like, I mean, you're trying to win a national title, right? So like, you're going to put your best player.
For sure.
You know, sometimes like you get some of the youth soccer-esque type of stuff in college, depending on how big of a program you are or whatnot. But you know, Brandon's done well as a right back. You know, the thing you have to be cautious of when you're a domestic college guy and you've done well for a while is. And just as a pro player in general, is you're always replaceable.
Yep.
And that's what people don't understand at every level. You're always replaceable.
And they're always trying to replace you. They're always trying to get somebody better.
Exactly. And you need to prove it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you have to prove it all the time. And DeJuan's done a great job doing that. You know, Brandon was hurt a bit. Justin did that throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
People doubted Steve Clark. And, you know, I loved it when we were, you know, with the Timbers. I loved it when they picked them up. And I was like, I
love his career, man.
I do. I love his career. Yeah. He's, you know, no one wanted me. Yeah. No one wanted me. I'm going to go play in Europe. I'm going to come back. Like, you know, I mean, you know, we you know, when he was with Crew, I wasn't with Portland yet. I had joined the year after, but when they beat him in 2015 or 14, you know, I mean, coming back from that era in MLS Cup where you got Preston, Diego Blair got the ball and, you know, early on in the game, but I mean, Steve's a good player. You know, he played until he couldn't play anymore, and you know, I think he's going to be a great coach. He's with Jags.
Yep.
I think he'll be a great coach when he moves on. You know, I think he has pro aspirations to be a pro head coach. But yeah, like you got to bring it every day, and people don't understand that.
I love when you said work rate because I always tell this story. Mm-hmm. The best youth player that I've ever been around was Caleb Stanko. And I always ask the question, it's like, why do you think he was the best? Mm-hmm. And the first time I saw him, it wasn't a move, it wasn't his skill, it wasn't a goal he scored. It was when he lost the ball, he wanted to kill the kid who stole the ball from him. Mm-hmm. Or if it was a bad pass, he hunted that kid down, and it was immediate chase. And I'm like, this kid's different.
Yes.
And it was the work rate.
It's mentality. Man. You know, that's how you know someone has a strong mentality. Aiden Morse. So, like, Aiden Morse played 1 year at IU. I didn't get to see him when he was with Crew Academy, but that was Aiden Morse. It was just like, as a freshman, he stood up to other seniors on other teams. Like, if he got fouled, he'd get in their face. Not like to be an asshole type of thing, but like to stand his ground.
Yeah.
Always worked, covered ground. And, you know, everyone's like, you know, when he was a Crew, people were like, he runs too much. He does, like, that's how he plays. Just let him be.
Yeah.
Like, he's got an engine. You know, and you know, like, I don't mind a guy that wants to run around and break stuff up and chase people down. I'm fine with that.
Right.
Especially if you can do it and you have the, you know, the agility and the ability to do it, you know?
What's your future? Like, that's a loaded question, but, like, why isn't an MLS club hiring you to be, like, the director of scouting for them? Maybe someday?
I hope so. Maybe the hope.
Is that the long term?
I would like to work for a club, whether it's, you know, if it was DCFC or if there's other clubs in the area that go pro, you know, if it ever happens.
You want to stay
here?
You want to stay in this area?
Yeah, I do. Like, you know, I think when I was younger, like, you know, I was starting with all that stuff. It was like, you know, would Portland ever need me? You know, at some point, like, I would do enough work but I didn't play pro soccer. You know, I could have played college soccer at D3 level. I didn't. You know, people may not see as me having the credentials, which is, you know, it was rough. But listen, I mean, I do the scouting. You know, I do different things. You know, I on the side, I help one of my buddies who's a soccer agent, him and his business. And, you know, my buddy was a technical director at an MLS club, and, you know, I met him through college scouting, and, you know, I helped run the Midwest Pro Combine with Eric Rudlin. I help with that. You know, it's just politics and friends, and, you know what I mean? Like,
and
yeah, unfortunately, that's just how it is.
Sometimes it's a good old boys network.
It is. It's listen, and sports is like that, you know, and it's something I was frustrated with, and something that I was like, you just got to accept it. Like, you just got to keep working, and maybe one day you'll have your moment, even if it's for a year or two. You know what I mean? To say that you did it. I mean, I was close a few times, honestly, with some of my friends that were doing academy stuff to be youth scouting. Like, fortunately, they didn't last because there was turnover.
Right.
But, you know, I've interviewed for some stuff. You know, some of it's like, some dudes are, like I said, some dudes are so intense and aggressive about everything. And I'm like, listen, I can be, like, you know, all in on it, but, like, the aggressiveness is crazy at the youth level.
Right.
But honestly, I like what we do with the Soccer Syndicate. I like consulting with teams. You know, we wish more clubs used us, particularly in the USL level, because I think they can definitely use us for college I think they could build their domestic game
How
more.
can people listening to this find the Soccer Syndicate?
Yeah, so we have a website. Soccer Syndicate's got a website. Our information's on there. Scott Resendez is the main guy that's on there.
Okay.
I had joined just a little after. We need to update the website just a little bit, but Scott's email's on there and everything. And I mean, listen, my buddy Scott was a GM for Wilmington Hammerheads in the A-League in the old days, and then he was a GM at Oklahoma City Energy before they folded, and they're trying to come back now and whatnot. Scott helped start the MLS Players Union. He was heavily involved with that, so he's got a lot of connections within the pro game. Again, we would love to work with teams. It's just like what ends up happening is, the coaching staff's bought in, but someone in the front office isn't. Someone in the front office is bought in, but not all the coaches are bought in to use. Like, it's almost like in unison. They have to agree to, like, do this. Mm-hmm. And some people just get very, like, uptight about it. Like, listen, we're not trying to steal anyone's job. Like, we're not. Like, we're trying to help you build a team that is, going to be good for your community to come on and watch and get players that are of the level, especially players that go unnoticed. Like, that's our job with youth, college, and lower division pro scouting. Like, that is our job at the Soccer Syndicate to find the players that go under the radar. Everyone knows, like, the top guys, but who are the guys that are on the fence when you watch them that, like, can be players that are put in the right environment, that can be good pro players?
Right.
We help one of our clients out with USL scouting. It's one of our MLS clients, and that's intriguing because, like, the MLS clubs, they always want 23 and under. Like, you know what I mean? Like, 24 is kind of the cutoff, but they want 23 and under, and they may give us specific positions and such to look at, and physical attributes to look for, and technical attributes and such. But USL is an interesting one because, like, I watch that a lot because at the agency that I help out with, some of the players I put to them, I'm always watching USL and just seeing how the guys are doing, because it means a lot that, like, they signed them and,
and they're doing well and they're getting minutes. And
yes, and they train with Aaron Bird back here, so I always stop in when they come back for the off season. It's fun to stop at the next level just to see, like,
when he has the pros.
Oh my gosh, like
ridiculous.
The women and the men, like from NWSL to USL Super League to USL Championship, League One, MLS, and then one or two college seniors that have graduated will jump in at times with them and whatnot. But, like, it's fun. It's fun to watch them.
Insane.
Yeah, it's fun to talk to them too. Like, you ask questions about stuff in clubs, like what you hear versus what they do. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting. But it's listen, it's a fun environment to be around. I would love to work for a club at one point, but I would love for the Soccer Syndicate to grow because I think we have a lot to offer people, to be honest with you, and we're guys that just want to help, and that's the frustrating part is we've had contracts with people that they haven't, agreed to the contract. They've hired us and, like, they didn't pay us any money before. We've had clubs do that to us, again, like the 24th hour or the 23rd hour, we've had clubs be like, it was all good to go. Then all of a sudden they pivot and they do something else.
Right.
It's a very agency-driven business too. Agents they represent certain coaches, they represent certain people in the front office or whatever, and, they're tied with the team, and, like, that agent is going to help because they want to get their players in. And you can tell, like, if you go on, like, Transfer Market UK and you look at the agencies the players represent, you can tell, like, which ones help out which clubs and whatnot. There's a lot of politics. I wish there wasn't as many politics. And even guys I know that were front office people for MLS teams and they've been in the academy system for MLS, they wish there wasn't so much politics because money and politics have, ruined sports.
Absolutely.
Someone wants a hand in the cookie jar and they want it in all the different cookie jars. And, it just, you can see when clubs go bad, you're like, why has this club been bad for 6, 7, 8 years? Well, it's like, because they're letting someone dictate what they do, or they think they put their trust in someone that knows what they're doing, but they really don't.
Right.
They don't do their due diligence and research for stuff. And there's a lot of people like that in certain jobs, with pro, academy level, and whatever that, listen, they've worked for a long time, but I don't think, the credentials and quality of what they produced before leads them to the job and position they should be in.
Yeah. Do you have time to talk about We Are Soccer?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Like, what is We Are Soccer?
Yeah. Yeah, so We Are Soccer was started by my buddy Craig Hearn. Craig played at Michigan State.
Yep.
he's been a local guy here for years, played for Carpathia, back in the day when Carpathia, the country club, was around.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
I know, right?
I miss that place.
Yeah, Craig does too. He's got stories. He's got good stories. Craig's coach, he's done refereeing. He still plays. He plays for Detroit Bullets, the men's team here, with a lot of guys that played at Madonna. And, it's funny, like, I look at, like, all the guys that play for, like, Next Level's team and Craig's team, the Detroit Bullets, and the other teams, and like, these guys play like D1 soccer. They all play growing up. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, listen, Craig, he had a relative that worked at Woodward Sports, and I think they pitched an idea of what else they can do, and I think a soccer show came up, and the relative knew. Craig knew soccer. Craig, right. I mean, he lives and breathes soccer just like I do, and Nate and Danny and everyone else that helps us out at We Are Soccer, and. Craig started it. At Woodward Sports. We started that. He started it himself. He brought in Nate, and then it got a little expensive to rent the studio. Like they had sponsors, but it was a lot of money.
Right.
And Craig was like, "Listen, we could probably do this like separate of Woodward Sports." So, he took the leap, and it was first in his basement for a little bit, and then we found, obviously this is our studio here.
Right.
We found this and. Listen, when you play pickup soccer and a lot of people, you can mention people will help you out, that want to help you out.
Right.
So, we've been in this studio for, it's been 3-4 years. We got a green screen room up here. We have, stuff for other storage areas. It's fun. You're in a soccer facility and you're right there by Next Level, which is awesome. And, so like, we cover, we do a Sunday night show. Sometimes we do Wednesday nights depending on the news and, if Craig has time. And, we're always trying to push content out. And then, we have a couple different channels. We have We Are Soccer Michigan. Before they were Michigan Soccer Central. That's what our buddy Dan Garnell ran.
Yeah.
Dan's a fantastic person. He doesn't like to be in front of the camera and whatnot. He's very kind of standoffish, kind of like the sports news writers where like they write stuff, but they don't want to have their face revealed or whatever. Like
exactly.
Dan doesn't do that necessarily because he doesn't do like these rankings and like upset people. Like he's the guy that goes and goes out to photograph high school games.
Right.
All levels of youth soccer. Him and I, like, we always have like our annual, like, hey, Dan, you want to go to this Michigan State match? Like we have that where he'll meet me somewhere. We'll drive. We went out to Western Michigan already. We'll go out to Bowling Green because he lives downriver. Yeah. So, I'll drive by him and go into Bowling Green and get on to 75 But yeah, he loves soccer. He's a tutor. He's a tutor in the area, high school and college kids. But yeah, he started We Are Soccer Michigan accounts and, that were Michigan Soccer Central. And then he started Ohio Soccer Central.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which are now We Are
Soccer Ohio.
Yeah. Yep. And, our goals of things were to spread the game and build a soccer community like that all aligned, and Dan wanted to join. I had helped Dan with some stuff in Michigan Soccer Central, and we want to grow. Like, we want to do more interviews with college, youth, pro guys. We want to do more and we want to help educate people. We want to help because I just think in the education aspect in terms of recruiting, for college and MLS Academy stuff and such, there's not enough out there, honestly.
No. A
lot of college guys they want to go play pro soccer. Like, what's the right thing to do? There's just not enough education being talked about. And that's what we do. We just, we obviously bring up EPL and MLS and Bundesliga. Nate loves the Bundesliga. Me from MLS, I like to talk about the US U20 stuff. Like, we just talk about different stuff. And,
right.
We've got a good following. We're still trying to grow. We're still trying to grow. And it's little by little each day. But, we're a lot of guys that love soccer and we want to grow. And if you're tired of, listen, there's good people there's good pundits out there that do stuff, on the national level. But like, if you want a different perspective, we try not to be biased. We try to be, or we try not to be unbiased. We try to be like for everything. We don't pick one side or the other. We try to just give you the facts. I mean, that's what I've always, learned as a journalism major at Michigan State. Just give the facts and let people make their own decision. Because now in a world, everyone wants to voice their opinion, and and listen, we voice our opinions on this show. but like we don't stuff it down people's throats like every single episode, you know what I mean, to like brainwash them into thinking stuff, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
We need to cover all sides of every issue. Could we do more of the women's game? Yes, we know we need to do that. Like we admit that we need someone. You know, we're looking for someone, you know, a female or a male that's heavily within particularly a female in the women's game that wants to talk women's soccer, whether it's a journalist or someone just very enthusiastic, you know, because we do. I mean, we got Chloe Ricketts here that, you know, we've interviewed Chloe. You know, we've interviewed a bunch of other people in the women's game. And Jeff Hosler, Michigan State. You know, we want to grow that side of it too because the women's game is growing in the pro side. You know,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Soccer's growing in this country, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and we got the World Cup. What are you guys like? Are you guys doing anything special for the World Cup next year?
Listen, we've always had like
dreams and
like years out. We were like we'd like to go, but
dude, the tickets.
I know
that's like you know
it's
what?
a lot.
I kind of just want to go and just park in a city and just stay.
Yeah,
not go to the games.
Just feel the atmosphere.
Just feel the atmosphere. Go, you know.
Yeah.
I might do it in Kansas City. I might do it in Toronto, but like. Just chill and just enjoy the atmosphere.
What I think would be cool is the FIFA Club World Cup sites that hosted teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think all those sites should, I mean, unless they messed up really badly, they all should probably get your national teams. Oakland was one of them. I'm curious to see if they'll get it and what national team they'll get. But that'd be awesome if like they opened up like a generic training to the public, you know what I'm saying? Like whether it was come down to OU and come watch training or go, you know, like that.
Brazil trained at Country Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in '94, right?
Yeah, in '94.
Yeah.
And
did they have open training?
I don't know, but Bob Bakari and Bartoshuk would always bring up what they were doing, and they got to see every single training session.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we would. Listen, if we can get some coverage on that type of stuff, that'd be awesome to do. You know, but like, you know, we'll watch it. We'll talk about it on our Sunday night show. You know, we'll talk about it. You know, Craig not last World Cup, but the World Cup before made an awesome like schedule of all the matches. Like that'd be awesome if he can put that together. It was like literally one like graphic that had like, you know, all the matches like that he put on there, and people love that. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do the coverage and. You know, we'll keep talking soccer when it's going on, and, you know, our ambitions will be to get out to more pro games and to do more and to make this self-sustaining. Like, that's our goal.
Yep.
You know, and to collaborate with, you know, people like, you know, guys like you with I Hate Soccer. I mean, we've done, we just did one that's called Clash of Clubs. They're out on the West Coast.
Okay.
A bunch of young guys, awesome. Guy named Dylan and his buddies that love soccer that just started a podcast. They talk EPL. Dylan's a Man United fan. Mila is a Man City fan. And there's other guys that are, and his buddies. There's like 4 of them. They all went to college.
Awesome.
But like they talk about Galaxy too because they love the LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
And they brought me on to talk about MLS stuff. So like we've done stuff like that with collaboration stuff where, you know, you go on, you know, try to do once a month or, you know, every other one where we go on there once and they come on our, you know, we do Wednesday night stuff, like just to like bring people in. Because I think there's a lot of people on, you know, via social media, YouTube that have a lot to say that are saying good things that aren't just trying to, you know, get a rile out of people and get people to comment.
Right.
You know, they have interesting thoughts to say that you want to bring them in and show people, you know, like that's our goal is just to grow, you know, bring people in. And listen, never got to the point where like, you know, some of those joined We Are Soccer as like a branch or whatever. I mean, we open to that. I mean, we're not there yet, you know, but, you know, we just want to help others, you know, grassroots podcasters.
I love it. Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for doing this, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, this is awesome. I want to see your green screen too. But dude, so We Are Soccer, Soccer Syndicate.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
No problem, man. I appreciate it.
And we'll talk about some stuff off the air, but
sure.
All right, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
I Hate Soccer